Chaffetz has been outspoken about the Clinton email investigation, asking her to come clean about her private server, but also saying recently that Republican lawmakers would probably accept the FBI director's recommendation. So where does he stand now? The congressman joins us here in the studio. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
Pleasure to have you here. Yeah. Your reaction to Mr. Comey's decision not to move forward with this?
I'm confused by it. I did have the opportunity to speak with Director Comey just in the last couple hours. I think if you look at the fact pattern, did she or did she not have classified information in a non-secure format that went on for years? The answer is clearly yes. And the statute says that's a violation of law.
So you spoke to him just within the past couple of hours. Tell me about the nature of this conversation. What did you ask him specifically?
Well, I want to understand the breadth of the case. Are there others that are going to be charged? What about this IT person that supposedly they offered some immunity to extract information? I want to learn the conflict that they see between what Director Comey said verbally and what the Inspector General came out with a couple weeks ago, because there are lots of points of conflict. Remember, Hillary Clinton wasn't quite so open and transparent with the Inspector General. She wouldn't even speak to that person. So we have a lot of outstanding questions, but no doubt I'm not going to be able to change his mind, but we, I think, as the American people, have a right to know the truth.
Did he answer any of those outstanding questions that you just posed to
No,
us?
some of them he would not refer to, but I still want to learn this information. Now that it's closed, there's really no excuse not to provide that information to Congress.
Do you think, like so many other people in this town, that he is above reproach?
Look, he has the greatest of reputations, a man of great integrity, but if you look at just the basic fact pattern, why not hand that to the prosecutors and let them make the political decision? I wonder if they look back at the former CIA Director Deutsch. This is a person who plugged their computer into the internet. The Department of Justice was going to prosecute them, and then it was President Clinton that offered that person a pardon. And so this has been prosecuted, or at least attempted to be prosecuted in the past. Why the difference now?
Well, he made some suggestions about intent, and that they looked at case law or certainly previous examples, and he did not see the intent in this particular case.
That's ultimately why we have to question the FBI director, because that's not the case. And the closest parallel that we see, at least at first blush, is Director Deutsch, because he did go through this. He was going to be prosecuted, and certainly that's I think the job of the FBI is to provide the fact pattern to the Department of Justice and not make the political calculation that this was, what a reasonable prosecutor would do. That's not the job. That's not the job of the FBI.
The House Oversight Committee, of which you are chairman, has jurisdiction over government records. Do you plan to call Director Comey?
Perhaps. I mean, that's why I had a conversation with him today. We're going to talk to a number of other members, the Speaker and others, but that's very much in the possibility.
I'd like to read a statement to you from Senator Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He said, quote, "If it wants to avoid giving the impression that the FBI was pulling punches, the agency must now be more transparent than ever in releasing information gathered during this investigation. There are plenty of FOIA and congressional requests pending that have been on hold because of the ongoing nature of the investigation. So now the FBI should respond fully and completely to all of them."
Senator Grassley is exactly right. There's no reason why the FBI should hold back in any way, shape, or form. FOIA requests from Congress, they have said this is a closed case to provide all the information.
This has been a huge frustration for you. Your committee, I know, is getting timely responses to FOIA requests.
We're just trying to get to the truth, and the State Department is the biggest obstructionist that we have seen. I mean, they even literally went to a judge and said it would take 27 months to provide information to Judicial Watch. We're getting the same type of treatment in Congress, and the American people are seeing how Hillary Clinton operates. This is how she does it.
Your committee produced a report last January 2016, in which you found, quote, "The executive branch culture encourages an unlawful presumption of favor of secrecy when responding to Freedom of Information Act request." It went on to find that the administration is unaware that FOIA is systemically broken and agencies overuse and misapply exemptions, withholding information and records rightfully owed to FOIA requesters. What has become since you wrote that report in
Well, look, the Benghazi
January?
Select Committee never did get all the documents, even though they're requested and subpoenaed. The Oversight Committee, same thing. We did pass a bipartisan piece of legislation that the President signed in to redo FOIA. But if you have an unwilling partner, somebody who's playing hide the documents all the time, which Hillary Clinton has done time and time again, then you don't have a fully functional government. And that's the problem and challenge. I can issue a lot of subpoenas, a lot of requests, but if they're hiding those documents and they're unwilling to prosecute these, then what are you telling the rest of government? Just hide the documents, no consequence. And that's probably the biggest long-term consequence that I fear.
Law professor at the University of Tennessee, Glenn Reynolds, who also writes the Instapundit blog is fond of saying and pulling out this quote whenever he sees a situation like this, quote, laws are for the little people. Do you agree with that?
I think the Clintons somehow, they just skate above it. You know, as Speaker Ryan said, nobody should be above the law. If you did this or I did this and you had classified information on a non-secure format, you'd be in jail, and you probably should be.
Would a Republican have been subject to the same treatment here?
I think the Clintons somehow, they think they get away from it, get away with it, but you know what? It's ultimately up to the American people. They should go into this eyes wide open, and they have a choice, and they get to make it. They're the ultimate jury in this, but this is how the Clintons operate.
Is it possible that Director Comey came to the conclusion that the political realities in Washington, this deeply divided city, could not be separated from the legal case, and that to spend millions of taxpayer dollars on an investigation and on a trial, which would have transcended the political campaign and ended far after the campaign was over, simply would not be worthwhile?
I think it was more of a political determination at the end. He should have just laid out the facts, handed it over to the prosecutors to make that determination as to whether or not they prosecute it. I'm under no illusion that the Obama administration would probably not prosecute her. But the fact pattern is clear. Did she or did she not have classified information in a non-secure format? Yes. Did they have hostile actors that were trying to penetrate and look at those emails? Yes, they did. Did that put people in harm's way? We don't know. We don't know, but that's the risk that you have when you purposely, this is no accident, purposely set up her own convenient email system with herself. I didn't create this. Republicans didn't create this. She created this.
Chairman Chaffetz, I know you just got off a long plane ride. Thanks very much for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Donald Trump's response to the FBI's conclusion on Clinton's emails. But first, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 32 in Chicago, where 4 men were killed and at least 62 other people were wounded in shootings across Chicago over the